It did look peaceful though, a certain calmness I was yearning for, dealing with the dissipating basketball future, job application rejections, and barely being able to care for my daughter, whose life I was being forced out of. I spoke so that only he and I could hear. Get up and stop playing, man. This can't be real. I wish I would have hit you up again. Or I wish you would have hit me up, letting me know you was around my way. Going to miss you, bro. We'll look out for your kids. Much love. I stifled the emotions rising from my stomach to throat, pivoting to the right, proceeding to the section of bleachers that presumably was set aside for his college associates. As I approached, I was welcomed by stale smiles of recognition and an acknowledgement of support from a non-football player. Giving y'all handshakes and hugs to the group of players that I graduated with brought me back to Hell Week, when athletes got one meal with their coaches. Just like now, I went to everybody in mess hall, cafeteria. It was almost the same sliver of joy seeing familiar faces in a trying time. We settled as the rest of the congregation trickled in, following the line to view the body, waiting for the commencement of praise, the start of a new life rather than the end of an old one. At least that's how the other black funeral I attended was constructed. It's a going home party. Going home to that place that eases your mind, believing that's where our loved ones reside. If it's real, who is truly worth that type of paradise? If it is heaven, wouldn't my experience be different from the next person since our interests aren't the same? Inexplicable questions, hoping the eulogist, Reverend, could offer some answers as his voice boomed over the microphone. I sat next to former classmate and Division II transfer, and behind the other two champions that I called the day I found out we would all be congregating again. The Reverend added levity, forcing mixed emotions, but the laughs and past stories my friend never got around to telling made this situation more bearable. What hurt just as much was watching his first daughter, wearing an all-white dress, dancing and touring around in the front row to the left of the casket. Unable to comprehend that her father wouldn't be able to hold her again, see her graduate, or send her off to college. She would miss a very important figure in her life, and I would miss one of my best friends, but the thought of it had me yearning for my own daughter, who I fear would miss that same touch. The thought moved me, knowing that I desperately wanted her in this moment, her mother too. Maybe for the presence of the facade of having a family justify having a child at this age. My buddy linking arms with me brought me back to the reality. Our friend preacher took the stage. He wasn't a stranger to the spotlight, preaching several Mondays at Fellowship for Christian Athletes, or FCA, and his presence filled the gymnasium, demanding the eyes and ears of everyone. Listening to preachers' recollections of the deceased took me back to our 4-year tenure. It was hard to picture these stories knowing a prominent character was missing. Like in the movies where the person pixelates fading off screen, at least I could still hear his voice, I thought, as the speaker handed the microphone back to the eulogist. The rest of the funeral seemed like background noise, zoning out into a world of my own troubles. The struggle of finding a salary job and of trying to get back overseas to play basketball. I started replaying a relationship that distracted me from my dreams. The anger, pain, disgust, the disappointment in myself churned my stomach. Breathing in my nose and out my mouth to calm the wretched feeling that I experience every morning after returning to Raleigh from Charleston this past Christmas. Dry heaving as soon as I wake up, my mind wrestling to grasp a hold of what I turned my life into, watching all of my hard work slip through my fingers like sand. The hardest part is trying to pick myself up, get back to where I once was, but mentally, it's like picking up one granny lid at a time. This strenuous task caused thoughts of dusting my hands off and walking away, leaving basketball, my daughter, and life behind, choosing the easier path, quitting. Unfortunately, that isn't in my DNA, even though the peace and calmness radiating from the casket was enticing, like in the cartoons where a character floats to the smell of a fresh pie. The funeral ended and the congregation tried to spill out of 2 doors. In the wait, I got the chance to have conversation with class of 16 football players, catching up and relaying what's new. We all stopped in a big group outside in the blazing sun, trying to figure out what the plans were post-funeral. Most went to the burial site, but that wasn't something I was trying to see. Seeing a close friend in a casket is bad, but witnessing him being put in the ground was a different hurdle, and I wasn't sure if I was ready for that. I hope he can forgive me. Everybody else went in their own direction, returning back home for another week of work. One common conversation was how much the real world entailed. I was going to go with a Romeo Company classmate to his home in Charlotte, but that would take me out of my way since my next destination was Charleston to see my daughter. Finalizing my decision in the car, sending a text recanting my earlier statement, using the same breathing technique of in my nose and out my mouth, I set the GPS, mentally getting ready to deal with the fecal that comes with the mother of my child. Pulling out the parking spot and throwing my arm out the window and stabbing the air with my forefinger pointed to heaven or my late classmate. Hopefully it's the same vicinity. I saw the return salute of the index finger from my rear view mirror and could have swore I saw something in the clouds move. Maybe I'll get a closer look next time I ride cloud on an herbal flight, flying over the reoccurring thought that brought all of us to our alma mater and this occasion. Regardless of the work put in, the reality of death and toxic relationships will remain dreams to the depths of imagination.